GM fam. 'Twas Brippo and the slithy toves did gyre and GM along the weebs. All mimsy were the bag holders, and the meme raths out dweeb. Beware the Titanoboa, my son, the jaws that bite, no calls escape. Beware the pudge pengu, and shun that fungible bored ape. That was Crypto Lewis Carroll, probably. Today we're talking about Titanoboa, the newest Vyper feature. And of course, we're experimenting with doing these live. So drop your comments, drop your questions into the comments, and we'll go ahead and read those at the end. Titanoboa is a native scripting environment for smart contracts, and this is a game changer. It's fast, it's beautiful. Internal EVM allows you to execute code directly against Boa. It's lightweight and it makes development a dream. For context, connecting Python with a node, particularly one via an RPC endpoint network call, is slow. Keeping the entire package within Python, it's also elegant and sleek. When users are writing a smart contract, the slow part is often the testing. You have several thousand lines of code to evaluate the performance of just a few hundred lines of smart contract code. Writing the full testing might take hours. The dev often will run it overnight, slowing progress by days or weeks. Keeping everything executing within Python is fast. Moreover, the advantages of keeping it all native to Python make the entire process sleeker. You can add breakpoints, access private variables. There are some trade-offs, of course. There's no testing against mainnet fork like is common with an Alchemy RPC. Still, for really complex smart contracts like you find in Curve, it's a game changer and leaps ahead of what Solidity is offering. Anyhow, we're live, so you've got my attention here. Would be interested in taking any questions you have about Titanoboa, Vyper, Curve, Ethereum, development, life, you name it. And of course, remember through all this, Vyper's hiring. There's never been a better time to make the jump from Web 2 to Web 3. An underrated job hack is negotiating your Llama Pay salary while tokens are cheap. See a few people in here. Always appreciate the likes, always appreciate the shares. We're at the Q&A portion. Edon Stern says, hello, sir. So Edon Stern, hello, sir, to you. I hope you're having a great morning. Hope it's not too early for you to enjoy a beverage. Yeah, nice to finally catch the live. I am by no means good at video stuff, so I'm still trying to figure out the best way to get this format working. Some days we get like a lot of people, some days we get nobody. It's definitely more fun when we have a lot of people. So I'm trying to kind of figure out like maybe we just do like 1 or 2 live per week, or maybe just keep doing them all live. I'll probably send a poll around on Friday, take people's temperature if the live thing is working or not. Basic CVX lock question, please, sir. I'll see if I can help. For the 7 people who joined, today we've been talking about Titanoboa. It's a new Python EVM compiler built directly into Vyper. It's really sleek and it's really cool. But questions for everybody. Layman's terms, GM, how are you? I don't even know if this is morning for most people. I do know that when I tried to do these like 5 in the morning, like no one was on. So I think that a lot of you like sleeping in. I figured that doing it early-ish would let you get like the end of the Asian session, the beginning of the Pacific session, and East Coast people, they should have no excuse. Don Stern is going to ask us a basic convex lock question soon. So he asks, or she asks, how do you see convex playing out this month? Butterfly had a big weekend. Good question. And of course, we have to preface all this. This is not financial advice. You all know this. When financial advice, not today. So we're just speaking academically here. I think one of the interesting things about convex is like on some level, it's a bit soul bound to Curve. So we saw when times were good, convex was way ahead of Curve. When convex was like markets were turning poor, convex tanked way harder than Curve. So I've been like paying mostly attention because I don't care about price, but I am interested always in seeing like where things rank, especially relative to Ethereum. And of course, like convex was like in 70th or so in CoinGecko, while Curve was in the 90s. Bear market hits, convex flippins curve in the wrong direction, drops super, super low. And it's been hanging out lately as low as like 130th, while curve's been holding tight at 120th. So, of course, both were pumping yesterday. But I think if you do believe they're soul-bound, then you would consider when convex is at its absolute bottom, might be a really good time to be buying convex. If you are thinking it's going to go back up, then it's probably going to swing back harder in reversion to the mean. Similarly, once convex like gets way ahead of curve, and that might be the opportunity to buy curve if you're just looking at that. As for the convex lockening, that's been like the most interesting thing to watch so far. So at the beginning, convex was mostly being relocked. We saw very few people have to sell, and this was people trying out Aladdin DAO's Clever. But over the weekend, there was all of a sudden a bunch of people trying out Badger. Actually, all the convex offerings are really, really cool. Butterfly had a big weekend. I need to look more into that because last I'd seen, there had been not as much Pyrex usage as I would have expected. So I think all of them are really interesting, and I'm just kind of curious to see that. As a small investor, how do I decide if I should lock my convex directly or through Llama Union? Good question. So I've been using the Union mostly because that was first. They've done a really good job. I'm a big fan of Alu, Benny, and Fiddy, who were the powerhouses behind it. So I'm very satisfied just dropping everything into that. I think all of them are good options, so I wouldn't I should probably write something up kind of in more depth, but I would reach out to people on crypto Twitter and ask for their recommendation on which of these three things might be better. Same for convex curve. Yeah. Titanoboa is cool. It certainly is. It certainly is. So I'm really like, for the longest time, I kind of thought that like maybe a year ago, Solidity in its entire environment was better than Vyper. At this point, I think it's been flipped. I think Vyper is better than Solidity. So I hope that causes flame wars. I don't care anymore. Like the amount of innovation happening in Vyper is incredibly swift. And we're going to see everything that pops out. You can write a contract in Jupyter Notebook cells. It's going to happen. Next cell loads as a contract object, perfect for rapid prototyping Vyper contracts. So like one of the cool things about the Python ecosystem is that it's got all this amazing tooling already built out for data scientists. So you can open up Jupyter Labs. You can have a nice, friendly environment which to play around. Everyone likes running code in Jupyter Labs, and the capability of building out a smart contract, deploying it. You're going to see such amazing developer adoption coming soon. And it's just more readable code. 100% agree. I don't like JavaScript. I don't like Solidity. I have to teach Solidity for evening class, even though it's all about Python. So it doesn't make any sense. Brownie given strategy and testing stuff is not there in Titanoboa. That is definitely the drawback. So Curve especially has to test all of its contracts against a forked mainnet. I've seen some of the Curve devs do like deploy a local environment, in which case they are just kind of deploying the necessary scaffolding to be able to like test Curve stuff and like mock ERC20 tokens. It works fairly well, but there's nothing like just being able to spin up a mainnet fork and test against it. Plus you get to mint yourself millions of tokens, so it's a lot of fun. I'm starting to study Python, says Red Rum, which is murder backwards. Be careful, everybody. Starting to study Python, then the idea is to learn Solidity. Is it better to dive directly in Vyper, or is it better to start from Solidity? If you are starting to study Python, I don't see any reason to start with Solidity. So one of the things people don't even realize much about smart contract development is that it's really the smallest piece of it, because smart contracts like usually is very simple logic. The tough part is in like writing the entire testing suite around it. So if you write out your smart contracts using Vyper and say you're testing it using Brownie, which is entirely a Pythonic like stack, you're going to get to learn Vyper very quickly. Like one of the easiest ways to learn Vyper is just to like write up a simple smart contract, and you see how easy it is. I definitely recommend Ape Frameworks tutorial. They do a fantastic job. And that's a great way just to learn Vyper out of the bat. Ape Frameworks is also a great solution. I'm partial to Brownie because all the Curve testing suites are written in Brownie. Edon Stern, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Edon. CVXFXS, also simply available to deposit directly into Llama, or do I need an LP CVXFXS FXS token? All right, so I cannot speak to that, unfortunately. I have not tried to deposit that into the Llama Air Force. I think I need to go back and check. I think I might have tested that with Aladdin DAO. And I remember the process was a little bit funky because you had to basically like create your own personal Frax vault. So that was at frax.convexfinance.com or convexfinance.fi. Swedin, what's secretly missing? Also, I've been pronouncing your name correctly, Swedin. What's secretly missing is some sort of a knowledge repo for Vyper patterns. Yeah, I was chatting before I dropped this article with the incredible Big Tech Sucks who authored all of Titanoboa in 4 days, and I was asking them like, which is like the one you're focusing on at this point? Is it Titanoboa or is it Python / Vyper import modules? Because if you have Vyper import modules, then you have the capability of bringing in like templates, like Open Zeppelin did. So I think that the capability of like getting modularization in place is going to mean that the community can kind of fill in that Open Zeppelin frameworks that people can import, and that can serve as a bit of a knowledge repo for Vyper patterns. All that being said, like there's sufficient Vyper resources. Like I think now that there's the Discord there and you get one-on-one access with all the developers, that's become amazing. Like if you can join one Discord, join that one. If you can join 2 Discords, we have the new crv.mktcap Discord. But I would definitely recommend the Vyper one first. Layman's Turns. Do you see ecosystems implementing NFTs for their DeFi projects? So it's an interesting question because NFTs is basically just a token with an ID. So Curve, in fact, utilizes NFTs. If you were using one of the previously, like on the Curve homepage, all the cross-asset transactions were done via synthetics before they became atomic swaps. And in doing so, it was non-atomic, so it took several minutes, which meant that you would try and make your transaction, and you get an NFT, which was just the receipt linking that specific transaction to your wallet. You can take that NFT, redeem it for the redemption of the transaction. So NFTs in that case is just the purely technical usage of essentially like a token that has an ID that links it to specific properties. So an NFT is sort of perfect for that. Now, NFTs in the popular consciousness is like whatever goes on in Instagram and TikTok, where people have like these crazy NFT culture. So an NFT doesn't need to have artwork and videos. An NFT doesn't need to be fancy. It can just be a utility that's used within an application stack. So we're probably going to see a lot of NFTs within DeFi projects. Like I'm personally like, I wouldn't say bearish on the NFT space, but the NFT space is very, very, very small relative to DeFi, even now. So I think the opportunity is still DeFi over NFTs. Edon, how do you keep these live streams up, sir? This is a great way to learn and interact. You are saying my name just fine, and I'm a man. From Israel. Shalom. I've been trying to learn some Hebrew, so we're going to have to connect so I can learn if I'm pronouncing things at all correctly. How do I hope to keep these live streams up? I have been doing them every morning. I think one of the issues I've had has been like timing, as well as sort of like figuring the right rhythm and flow. I intend to keep them up as long as people see there's like demand for it. There's a bit of a difference between the revealed preference and the express preference, which is people say they want these, and yet only about half of these end up actually getting some people talking. Swadeen, apply for a temporary job at Vyper as a technical writer and just write docs that list all best practices and Vyper patterns. By the way, Curve doesn't do an ERC 721 style NFTs. They're custom implementations as far as I know. And the synth swap is kind of outdated and we should move to atomic swaps. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's not exactly an ERC 721 NFT, but it's similar in concept. I think it even shows up. I think it even might show up on Etherscan within their ERC 721. Apply for a temporary job at Vyper. Yes, all of you should apply for temporary jobs at Vyper as technical writers because Vyper actually is getting some money thanks to, in part, to the Eat Thunder Curve grant. And they are looking to hire talented people. There's really, really I mean, not financial advice, not job advice, but yes, job advice. Like, there's no better time to make the jump from Web 2 to Web 3 than right now. Andrea. Good evening. Perhaps stupid question. Will an implementation of CBDC currencies within Curve be likely tomorrow? Thank you. I can't predict the future, so I don't know if CBDC currencies, I wasn't even aware any existed. I can't comment on if they're going to be implemented within Curve tomorrow. I know that Curve likes to drop things. They don't give any heads up. It's once the repository hits, once it's pushed to the blockchain, that's when it's live. Absolutely more utility than art. Layman's terms, thank you. Idan Stern, I will be happy to teach you as much Hebrew as you want, sir. Wonderful, wonderful. Steve, my share, 0.004% of pool, WETH, 0.4774847 convex, 94. That's a lot of numbers there. Average USD balance. My share versus Stead. Are you asking what your share of the pool is? I'm not quite sure what you're asking, Steve, so I'm hoping that you can rephrase that. Barry Freed, our Twitter hero friend, Win Moon. The moon is not so much the destination, but the friends made along the way. So really enjoy that we're having a fantastic and very special movement together. Bert Knock. How does Curve's incentive mechanism work when Curve's total supply is reached? So the total supply is not going to be reached for about 300 years. And this is a problem for our great-great-grandchildren to deal with. So on that level, like relative to kind of more pressing concerns like climate change, so there's actually like a bit of time to think about this and get this right. That being said, like if Curve has made no changes in the subsequent 300 years to address the crisis that's going to come within 300 years, then Curve deserves a $0 valuation at that point. My hunch is that between now and 300 years from now, they're going to solve this issue of the final Curve token being emitted. Idan Stern, bury the king. Absolutely. Swadin, Garrett, what do you think is the next step for Curve V2 pools? I see it as V2 0.0.1. We need lots of optimizations for more efficient mainnet V2 pools, since V2 has much better potential on sidechains. That's a really good question, and that's one I've been interested in diving into a bit more, because technically the Curve V2 pools are a 0-to-1 invention as far as I'm concerned. Like, I've never seen the capability of a smart contract just so natively being able to rebalance liquidity. So just if you believe that the best technology is going to win, I think the V2 pools are fantastically positioned to be there for the win. Like, I don't see any way that we go through more of these kind of bear market cycles where every other DEX shuts down and Curve is the only liquidity source. I think it seems inevitable to me that it's going to become the necessary destination for all places to launch and maintain a liquidity pool. So I do see that coming. The question to me, though, is sort of like this initial bootstrapping phase where you're trying to find a beachhead market and get product market fit. Because I have had like some observations with some various like other protocols. Because ultimately V2 pools are a bit of a bet on innovation. You're betting that there's going to be new innovations coming that are going to want to, within DeFi, that are going to be launching on Curve. And I see the innovation portion as like trivial. Of course, that's going to happen. Anyone who's trying to FUD that DeFi is going to go away, no. This is like the greatest casino in the world. So if nothing else, you're going to have degenerate gambling addicts always creating new Ponzi's. I hope that we can do bigger and better things than that. The launch phase for all these innovative projects, like a lot of people have been very reluctant to launch their token using V2 pools. I find that a bit of a surprise because I think that the Stargate launch was one of the coolest launches and best executed launches that we saw in some time. I haven't seen a lot of follow-up from Stargate since, but they had used a Curve V2 pool and it did phenomenally. They also did a V2 pool paired against USDC, which was a very interesting choice. But there's a lot of kind of different and competing incentives within token drops and kind of launches. And I don't think a lot of people get this kind of like token drop concept right. But for a lot of them, like their goal is to like give away these tokens to as many people as possible, generally the price dumps immediately because maybe 50 to 80% of these people are selling it. So they're trying to innovate on this like token drop in a way that gets tokens into the hands of people, but not the people that are just going to dump the token. That being said, I think the like advice, again, not financial advice, is always dump half of airdrops, and I haven't seen any case where that hasn't been like completely wrong. So I think that token like airdrops are almost always going to like coincide with massive dumping. Anyhow, like long story short, like the existence of a Curve V2 pool doesn't really meet people's needs on that front because they are essentially like if they're trying to drive liquidity to it, they think of it as let's drive liquidity towards dumping our token, and that's not something anyone really wants, right? So I think that what's really needed is some big tokenomics big brain, and I'm not good at Ponzi-nomics, and thankfully so, because I'm in the United States, so they give me the electric chair. But I think someone needs to come up with a really good tokenomics launch strategy that fully integrates V2 pools, because I think that like the idea of like trying to protect your token against being dumped only really matters if your token itself is weak tokenomics. If your token is good tokenomics, then no one actually wants to dump it. So I think that people are kind of like looking for these like artificial solutions. I think people like sushi because you have to deposit a balance of the token and ETH. So there's like at least like a little some anti-dumping mechanisms built in. But yeah, I think there needs to be a big brain out there that figures out like an amazing token launch strategy using V2 pools with the great tokenomics underneath it. And I think you're going to see people start to mimic that. And I think that honestly, like you say, it's going to come on Polygon before it hits mainnet or one of the other side chains. Let's see. Edon, when Haim Solomon on the stream? Anytime. I think that Haim is delivering fantastic content, and it would be a pleasure to get a chance to talk with him. It would be intimidating for me because like there's so many big brains hitting Twitter with all these threads, and I'm just going to ask stupid questions because I'm definitely left bell curve. Interview people from the space on your channel. Yeah, I should do that. I've mostly been needing like there's a ton of side work that goes on with all these interviews, like scheduling and whatnot. So I've been hoping to get an extra pair of hands because I don't want to create that much work for myself, but I just really would enjoy interviewing some of these people. It would be highly informative. Layman's terms, do you think projects like Silo are helping the Curve ecosystem? Yes, I'm a big fan of Silo, or utilizing the likes of STG. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Silo. They have a Curve pool on top of things, so I just even on that level, they're helping to grow the Curve ecosystem. I generally am of the opinion that the more DeFi services, even if they're competitive, the larger the DeFi ecosystem grows and the better the things go. So I don't have any hatred for Uniswap. Like I think the fact it exists is a really good thing because obviously some people really like using Uniswap. I think that it's inspired innovation. So I think you've seen better achievements coming out alike. So that's my thoughts on that. DeFi Advisor. Hello, everyone. Let's get these streams on. As much engagement as we can. Share on Twitter and wherever. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm still working out. Like, I'm not a natural marketer. I'm kind of a skill that I've been teaching myself for the past few years, how to do social media and all this. So I definitely need all your suggestions and advice on how to do this whole Web3 social media stuff. Swadim Nanda, in my opinion, V2 pools will take quite some time to develop into an adopted product. The primitives need several bear markets to prove themselves. Yeah, it could be. It could be. I could also see it just being like a 0-to-1 innovation once people figure it out. Like the intelligence in the space is so smart, and it always amazes me when I talk to developers in here because they're top notch. They're so brilliant. Step by step, we grow like DeFi. Yes, thank you, DeFi Advisor. Swadin Nanda, and the larger the volume, the more efficient the DEX. But with V2, the larger the TVL of a pool caused by bribes incentivizing engaging, make the TVL large, but it may not increase volume. That's a very good point. We saw like a little bit that Curve got better with the volume drawdown. So I think there's intelligent ways to FUD Curve and intelligent death spirals. And I think like given what we've seen, like better FUD against Curve is what happens when TVL grows too big and kind of the rewards get diluted, as opposed to like right now is Curve's sweet spot. Curve is killing it. Abdullah Al Kamil, is there a good resource on comparing the concentrated liquidity of Curve V2 and Uniswap V3? It's sort of apples and oranges because Curve V2 pools automatically concentrate liquidity internally, whereas Uniswap V3, it's just dependent on like their trade tranches. Steve, why is my DEP different? And is giving his share of WETH in what looks like the convex ETH pool. So unfortunately, the YouTube comment is kind of like playing funky with the numbers, so I can't quite read it. I would advise visiting the Convex Discord or the Curve Discord and asking the support channel. I'm sure that they can. You can send screenshots, and it's going to be better. Don Stern, sir, you're top notch. You can intelligently everyone. Well, we'll see. We'll see. If nothing else, like I think it'd be kind of fun. I'm like always reluctant to do interviews because I'm incredibly asocial. Like I'm not antisocial. I just don't care about socializing. And it's like kind of like a hassle. Like right now, I haven't eaten, and I went for a big swim this morning. So like I'm like enjoying talking here, but as soon as I'm off here, I get to eat for the day. So so like they're just like better things than hanging out with people sometimes. But I'm having a blast hanging out with all of you like this. Andrea, thank you very much for the previous answer. I think this type of format is very useful, as I think it is very useful to spread as much as possible what Curve offers and how it works in practice. Yeah, Curve doesn't pay for marketing. So Curve relies on evangelists who just really like Curve, myself included, to just step up and do this pro bono. Swadin Nanda, rebalancing larger pools costs more to the V2 AMM. So if a large pool doesn't do enough volume, it is less efficient. So reducing incentives for V2 pools to soft cap pool TVL might be interesting. Yeah, there's so many interesting ways to play V2 pools. Like once there's some liquidity in there, they sort of always exist. And if the pool ever grows imbalanced enough because of low volume, it actually just kind of sits there as an arbitrage opportunity. So it's sort of interesting. As long as you can grow the pool to sufficient size, like those pools are there forever. You can't really kill a V2 pool, at least that we know of, which is one of the like ridiculous things about the Curve death spiral FUD. Edon Stern, hope you will enjoy your streams and get the feedback that will allow you to keep doing it. By the way, I meant Haim Solomon is a viewer on the stream. Just a joke because I saw Barry here. Haim will be an excellent first guest here, though, in my opinion, though. Yeah, I definitely want to do some interviews. I think Haim, Barry, all of them are just like such a pleasure. I think I only noticed them in the bear market. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've been doing this for longer. But I think like they're really good textbook examples of how like if you start doing stuff now in the bear market, like it took them a month, 2 months to exceed my follower count on Twitter. Just by like cranking out amazing daily threads. So there's such opportunity for all of you right now in the bear market. Like I don't care, drop everything and build right now because the fruits of it are going to be incredible in the next bull market rips. Thank you, sir. Get some food. Your work in the space is amazing. Edon Stern says true about Barry and Haim. Yeah, this has been a very fun one. It's always fun when you get people. I think I'm starting to figure out the formula, do it a bit later, and try and include the link in the newsletter first so that it kind of spreads out a little bit more. So, but this is like 27 minutes is maybe a new record. It'd be cool if we could get enough content to do these hourly every day, but I'm not that interesting. So we'd definitely need to bring in guests to get there. Christian Walsh, GD, good sir. Thank you for your videos. You are a champ. Are you a fan of Concentrator? Are there other equivalents of interest to you? Yes, I'm a fan of Concentrator. I've used Concentrator. I am super interested in both Concentrator and as well as the Llama Air Force for Convex Curve. I have not yet. I don't have a big enough like convex stash to have tried out all the different convex options, but I'm super bullish on all the different kind of staked future yield convex products. Edon Stern, Barra is the best time to build and learn. Less noise, easy to get real alpha. Yeah, like I've had to like, I can't speak for all of you, but I've had way more fun this bear market than either the past bull market when there was all that noise and the previous bear market before it. Like the signal to noise ratio is fantastic right now. There's still like relative to the last like big bear doldrums of 2017, 2018, so much interesting stuff happening that it doesn't feel like a bear market. Like if the innovation died, that would feel like soul crushing. But this is still the most innovative space I've seen by far. And I'm still seeing an exodus of talent from Web 2 to Web 3. So I still think that this is the right room to be in. I'm not seeing anything else on the planet that's more innovative because I'm sure as soon as something hotter jumps around, everyone's going to jump to that. So this has been a blast. We made it to the full half hour. So thank you very much, friends. We're going to keep trying to do these live streams in the morning. You're welcome for the time today. But as always, share this. We have the daily newsletter that comes out, your likes on Substack, your shares on Substack. The recommendations are fantastic. This video channel is still trying to figure out video, so do all the things you do with video channels. Subscribe, like, share. And we are going to make it, friends. Not financial advice, but thank you.